But today, for a speaker, we're going to be talking about automated marketing with predictive response in Salesforce. And we have Amy Henson, who is Marketing and Communications Director of Greenbelt Alliance. She's going to be demoing her org. Thank you.
Give it a quick second. So hopefully I can talk loud enough to where we don't necessarily need this, but if we do, let me know. If you can't hear me in the back, wave. So like we said, my name's Amy Henson. I am Marketing Director at Greenbelt Alliance. We're right down the street on Sutter and Grant. And we are the champion of the places that make the Bay Area special. So our business is in defending natural and agricultural landscapes from development while helping to create great cities and neighborhoods. And all of this boils down to kind of the one single challenge that we face, which is how the Bay Area handles growth. It's a little bit about our organization. I'll give you a quick overview of us. So, we're not a huge organization. We are a $2.6 million operating budget. We've got about 20 staff, 5 of which are development or fundraising, and 2 of us are marketing. We're both here in the room. Alex is my counterpart. So we're a pretty small shop. And when I started at Greenbelt Alliance about 1.5 years ago, we had one giant static database. It was essentially a glorified Rolodex. But what we're trying to do now is change that. And I want to run you through how we're doing that with Predictive Response as a partner. So this is our platform. These are all the products that we currently use. We're on Salesforce. And in the post-Convio era, we're using Eventbrite for events, Click and Pledge for donations, WordPress is running our blog, and we're using Predictive Response and Campaign Flow, which are 2 that I'm going to focus on today for our marketing automation and emails. Very quickly, when I came to Greenbelt Alliance, we had a few marketing challenges. We wanted to break down silos in our data sources, identify contacts who are ready to increase their investment in Greenbelt Alliance, and then make our data work for us better. And these were kind of the goals at those. We're getting the most out of our investments and inform our marketing strategy because, like I said, we don't have a whole lot of cash to spend on this stuff. We wanted to automate our donor prospecting and new audience brand connection, and that will help our staff be a little bit more efficient in our work. So we're less tactically focused. We can focus more on the strategy. And better connect and motivate our donor and advocate base to the organization as a whole. So to me, as a marketer, this speaks to 2 systems. We need a communication lifecycle strategy, and don't panic if that doesn't make any sense to you. I'll explain it in a second. And we need that to feed our engagement system. We needed a moves management strategy that can feed our major donor pipeline. And I'll go through what those 2 things mean to the organization and how simple it can be to set this up at a small nonprofit. So first is the communication lifecycle, and it's okay if you don't recognize this term because it's something that we typically use in sales, not nonprofit. What it really comes down to is how the audiences interact with us throughout time. So on one end, you have the brand interaction, on one you have time, and at any time, an audience member can be somewhere in this plot. But the goal is still to move people up and to the right. So higher engagement, longer term supporter. And in sales, this means becoming a loyal customer. But for us as a nonprofit, there's a lot more nuance to what we want people to do. It's not just about money. Maybe we want you to be an advocate. We want you to speak on our behalf. We want you to go to community meetings, get engaged, get involved. So for this presentation and for automation purposes, I want to focus on the one thing that sales and nonprofit does have in common, which is the welcome. And it's kind of like that super exciting moment where somebody signs up online and you have no idea why. And they're like, yes, I want to get your stuff. This is so awesome. And you're like, yes, we've got stuff to give you. But you still don't know that much about the person. So I want to focus on how to help them stick around and not just toss them into your newsletter and let them get the wash of all the information. So out of curiosity, how many people are using the welcome series right now when somebody signs up for email? Anybody? 1? Yeah? And is it automated or you guys send it out personally? Half and half? Okay. Is anybody using leads at their organization? Yeah, a couple? For sales. Not for donors. Anybody else? Yeah? Okay, cool. So when people are coming into the organization, you're like, hold on a second, let me learn a bit more about you before I put you in with all the rest of my contacts. That's the purpose of leads. A lot of nonprofits don't use them. We didn't even use them until a few months ago. So we started figuring out, this is a section of Salesforce that nobody really ever uses in our sector, and we wanted to start leveraging that a little bit better for us. So this is part of what powers our automated welcome series. And the point is to capitalize on that kind of blissful moment where somebody says, yes, send me your stuff. So to set this up, we use 3 tools, and they're all pretty native to Salesforce. The first is web-to-lead integration. The second is workflow rules that are Salesforce native, and those can all be written using drop-downs. You don't have to write any special code, no additional programming. It's all built into the system. And then the third is predictive response. And predictive comes with 3 small tools that they kind of package all together. One is campaign flow, which moves your contacts around for you. The other is campaign branching, which gives them specific directions in campaigns where they want to head to. And express email with instant send, and that's the thing that sends the people the automatic receipt. So I'll go through how this works at Greenbelt Alliance. This is our welcome series on paper. So basically, somebody comes to our website, and they sign up online, and then they get their very first email right away. It's kind of a receipt. It says, hey, it actually comes from me. It says, hi, guys, welcome to the community. We promise we won't bite. Here's the kind of stuff we're going to send you. At any time, manage your subscriptions. Subscriptions, great. The next one comes about 10 days later, and we hang in there so we don't inundate the reader. And then we send them a second email that says, hi, just before we start throwing you in the newsletters, here's the type of stuff that we're going to send you. Here's 2 sample articles we think you might like, just to kind of engage the reader, get them to know a little bit more about the organization. And then right when we send email number 2, this is where the automation kicks in addition to the instant send. So campaign flow takes that person and moves them into the newsletter campaign now on the back end of Salesforce. The only thing that we've done at this point is said, yes, you've been a lead. You've got the last 2 emails, appropriately. We know your real email address. You're not just, fake stuff that's been entered into our database. You're not corrupt. So we convert the lead to a contact. They get put in the campaign. So then about a month later, they get their first newsletter or whatever, if they add it like midway through the month, then at the beginning of the next month, they'll get their first newsletter. All of this is well and good. As a marketer, I'm excited. This is less staff time for me. We're not sending stuff out every single day, batching stuff. But I'm also thinking, I want more. This isn't enough. I have you for a few seconds. You're already interested in my organization. What else can I learn about you? So what we did with predictive and campaign branching is we added on the second component to our welcome series. And this is the first interest indicators. So this is where we start to truly parse people out based on how they click through that very first, or actually the second email, to identify. Greenbelt Alliance sends out 2 totally different types of content. One is about outings and going out and hiking and that kind of stuff. And the other is more wonky, get engaged in your city, go to a community meeting. And our goal is to try to bring those 2 together. But if somebody very specifically only wants outings news, then we'll let them make that choice. And we'll let them have the behavioral indicator from day 1. So I'll come back to that a little bit more, and I'll show you how that works. But in the meantime, I want to invite you to try it out. Give it a shot. You can go to greenbelt.org right now. You can sign up if you like. This is my shameless promotion. Enter our newsletter system. But I'll show you, actually, Alex, if you want to come up, and so you guys don't have to give your information. We'll have Alex sign up as a test user. And we'll show you what it looks like on the back end. So let's get you to here. All right. Take it away, Alex.
Hi, everyone. So I'm the Marketing and Communications Associate, aka Amy's one henchman. So I'm the one who does the day-to-day using in the database and using predictive response for marketing. So just really quickly, a little live demo. Here's our lovely web to lead form. So let's fill that out. Let's try Cisco. This is my spam account. Cool. So here's our thank you page. Thanks for signing up. So if we go into Salesforce, that is today's leads, and Ann Crawford also signed up. Thank you, Ann Crawford. But yeah, so the way that web lead works, on our homepage we have, so if you guys are familiar with web lead, you can set like different lead sources. So depending on where they come into our system, you can set a different lead source that'll trigger a different kind of campaign flow. So we use a campaign flow on our Welcome Series campaign, and it should have automatically added Alex Tester into the campaign down here, as well as Ann Crawford. So we are now in the campaign, and you can actually see level sent. That is the instant send feature for campaign flow. You can set it so that when someone, whatever criteria, filter criteria you have, when that is met, you can have them instantly receive said email. So we can just really quickly see that, and here is that welcome email.
And
there we are. That's me in the middle. But yeah, so just a basic introduction to our organization. And then we have like a time delay for this welcome series. 10 days later, you'll receive the second email, which we'll use to kind of gauge interest, behavioral interest, depending on, if you decide to click through. And like, you can use campaign flow. You can use multiple campaign flows per campaign, where like different actions or different criteria can trigger a different, a person being added into a different campaign or a different way. Like, for example, you can have, like on our donate form, if you check yes to receive email, that's like a different lead source, that maybe that feeds into a different campaign. But yeah, that's more or less it. I'll hand it back to Amy.
Thanks. I always have Alex do the technical stuff because I run a lot of the strategy, but he's really kind of our wizard on the back end. So he'll be around afterwards for questions too, if you guys have more. And there's also Seth. I'll introduce him in a second. Okay, so this is what that back end looks like when you're setting up the power behind the automation, the campaign flow. So as we said, there's no additional coding you have to do. It's all drop down. You create your own rules. As you see here, the lead source equals our online sign-up form, and that online sign-up lead source is sprinkled around our website via a widget that you feed into WordPress. If most people are on WordPress or Drupal, they work in a similar situation, similar fashion, I mean. So there's a quick preview of that. And this is the first email, as we said. 10 days later, you get the second email. And then right after that, the next month, you get our newsletter. Okay. Now, I told you I would get back to that first interest indicator, which is right here. And if you take a look down at the bottom of this email, we've got two boxes that are two types of news that we send out to people. And based on click data, we can replace the contacts. We can place the contacts in another campaign as well. So we can use that campaign membership to help tailor the content they receive in the future. So this is our first behavioral marker, and the beauty of it is we're not creating another data silo, which is something that we had an issue with when we were back on Convio. We would start to create these lists and lists and lists that only lived in that database. This all lives in Salesforce, and it's all mobile. It's all live. Although this is a good first step, something that I want to show you is that once somebody is in our system and they are a contact and they've had some interactions with us, there's a much more graceful way to track behavior than putting them in a bunch of campaigns. And this is what Predictive calls contact scoring. So we're using contact scoring to track and log behavior on an individual in our database using their contact record. This is really exciting for me as a marketer. Some people get really freaked out by this, so hang in there. I'll show you why it's so exciting. This is important because we can better personalize our efforts to connect with people and motivate our audience. So I always ask kind of my team and our development team, what's the goal and how do we measure it? So the goal, of course, is connecting better with our audience. The measurement is all in contact score. So users can earn points based on their interaction with our system, and our system meaning our website and our emails and our donation systems. So when someone clicks, when they open, when they complete a web goal, they're earning points as they go. It's getting logged on their contact record. Higher point values indicate more interaction and therefore a more close relationship with the organization. So this is Alex again. He drew these. Aren't they fabulous? I'll run you through a little bit of a scenario of how this works. Alex is a contact in our system. We send Alex an email, and it says, hey, you're invited. He opens it. He earns 10 points. Then he decides, I'm going to click through your email. I'm excited about your content. I want to check out what you've got to offer. And he clicks around in our website. All along, Predictive Response has a tracking code in our site that tracks where he's moving around, records the behavior, and gives him points accordingly. Then he decides, I'm going to complete the goal. I'm going to sign up for the thing that you sent me. This sounds great. I want to go to the event. And we give him a whole bunch of points. Now, this repeated behavior, because he's on our regular contact list, earns Alex more and more points as he is interacting with our brand, with our message. And all of that gets tracked on the contact record. So Predictive continues to rack up points and score based on Alex's interaction with us. A high contact score and a rating. You see that rating down there, 1. So we've set our system up to be 1 through 5. Somebody with a 1 has a superstar rating. Alex has 4 million points because he's our test user. He gets every email. So your users probably won't have 4 million points. But this tells us that he could be primed for donation asks. He could be primed for exclusive event invites or other engagement tactics to try and increase his closeness to our brand and to our organization. So this helps us start to build a better understanding of our audience as well. By engaging with us, they tell us what they're interested in. We can build a better strategy of how to reach out and mobilize them. Looking for were online engagement, which is our contact score. We had that up and running. Donation history, which we wrote a rule to kind of aggregate all of our click and pledge history information. So maybe last gift was over $50, you know, you've given to us in the last 3 years, whatever it is that's important to your organization. You can write a rule native to Salesforce and create a true false, and then that will pull the person into the system. And propensity to give, if anyone's using Wealth Engine at your organization, I see a lot of heads up and down, that's the third piece of our data set that we used. This can vary. It's all customizable for you, but these are the 3 most trusted sources at our organization. So this is what our donor pipeline starts to look like on paper. Again, same diagram. So somebody is in our database, and they meet these 3 criteria. They have a contact score, their wealth information is above whatever, and their donation history is within the time frame that we set. So campaign flow then kicks in, and it knows, based on all of those variables, to put the person in what we call the donor pipeline, which is a campaign, regular old campaign in Salesforce. Then our staff knows to look at that campaign and scan the people within it. She knows whether she wants to increase their tier, which we have a donor tier system at Greenbelt Alliance. If you're high touch tier, that means we treat you like royalty, you know, we bend over backwards, you get personal notes from the executive director. And then the lower touch tier means maybe we don't know that much about you. You just joined, maybe you've never given, you know, you're just sort of hanging out in the database. So the other option is she can pass. She can say this person's not quite ripe yet to be a major donor. Let's kick them out of the campaign, and next time something updates, maybe next time they give or next time they raise their contact score, they'll get put back in. So all of this is great and exciting. If you're like me, you're a marketer, you're excited, you say this is fantastic. But I want to tell you a little bit more of a story. If you're not like me, if you're not a data geek, if this doesn't excite you, I want to tell you how it's actually made our staff lives easier and made us more efficient. So I want to tell you the story of Lopa and Grace. I don't know if anybody knows Lopa at Greenbelt Alliance. She's been around for about 7 years at our organization, and she's charged with donor prospecting. So she's in charge of looking up people, knowing whether or not to bring them into the organization, to introduce them to us. She stewards donors, and she keeps tabs on all of our top donors to kind of build out these profiles so we know more about them. So a while ago, actually just last week, we sent out this email to a bunch of people in our database, both donors and non-donors, to tout 2 big wins in open space conservation. And one woman, her name was Grace, she sent this super cute little note, and she said, "Hey guys, great job. I really like this area and really appreciate what you're doing." We get these notes all the time. We send these emails out to 12,000 people, and this one came into our executive director. He didn't recognize the name. And so he sent it on to LOPA and said, "Hey, can you respond to this lady, tell her thanks on our behalf, this is fantastic, or let me know a little more about her." So what's really cool is that none of the information on Grace in our database standing alone was that exceptional. She hadn't given a bunch of money. She had never even sent us an email before. We didn't know much about her. We had no notes on her. So typically, LOPA would have kind of passed and just said, "Hey, thanks," sent an email back. But because Grace was in this campaign, she paused. She took another second. She thought, "Okay, let's check this out." So she went through the process of kind of like looking a little bit more into it. And the beauty of it was Grace was increasing her engagement. She had joined our email list not too long ago. She had given $50 at a time. And her wealth information was pretty phenomenal. Her propensity to give was fantastic. And so LOPA knew not to just kind of let this person get thrown back into the wash of 12,000 people. LOPA did a little more research. She sent a more personalized note back to Grace. And what was so cool is she started engaging us. She was responding. She was saying, "Yeah, I've been following the organization for a while. I've been getting your newsletters." She had been clicking through. And we never would have known this without the contact scoring. So as LOPA followed up, they started talking on the phone. They did a little bit more engagement around, our executive director gave her a call. And so Grace has now been moved up the ladder to a major donor prospect. And without that information and without us being able to react quickly to kind of that aggregate information and be able to bring her in closer to the organization, we never would have been able to expect the amount of gift that we're going to go after Grace for, to be really blunt about it. We're all nonprofits, we know how it works. So this happened literally this week. Measure AA just passed. And the amazing thing to me is that after running this right before this meeting, we have 92 other people just like Grace in this campaign. So today, after running the system, 92 people just like Grace in the donor pipeline, and it's not every day that a small team of 7 people are able to bring 92 prospective major donors in just a matter of weeks to their executive and director and say, "Hey, here's what we've got in the database." And if there's anything I've learned from being a marketing professional, it's that the best customer you can ever get is the one you've already got. So for me, the moral of the story for Grace is that she's the personification of everything that this system is about. It's simple elegance, refinement of movement. Greenbelt Alliance, we're trying to push more marketing in small nonprofits. We're trying to be a leader in this, and I think we're doing a great job with a partner in Predictive Response. And so we discovered that a little bit of grace in our data strategy and just simple refined movements are going a long way.